Hey, happy campers, Todd here, Great American RV SuperStores, and we are in the front of our Heartland Bighorn 39 MB fifth wheel. We're going to be doing a technical walkthrough just like you got on the date of delivery with your technician. We're going to walk through, show you how some of these components work, give you a few other tips and tricks. If your component differs from ones that you find in this video, you can find more information on other components as well as these and a deeper dive into those components on our Great American RV YouTube channel, and look for the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We're going to start here in the front. Of course, we have our 7-way plug. Our 7-way plug will plug into our truck that we're towing with. That is going to transfer all of our lights for our vehicle to the trailer, and we're also going to have a charge line in here that is going to go to our battery and help keep that charged while we're traveling down the road off of the alternator of that truck. Now on here we're also going to have from our brake controller through here to our brakes, that brake control line that will activate the brakes while we're traveling and we initiate that brake system. We're also going to have our breakaway cable here that's going to lead to our breakaway box. We need to make sure that pin is inserted at all times. That way our brakes aren't active whenever we don't want them to be. Then we're going to have this loop right here. This loop needs to be hooked somewhere, maybe on the rails of the fifth wheel hitch, never on the hitch itself. What it's intended to do, if anything ever fails on the hitch or the kingpin, this pin right here is to be pulled out whenever it disconnects, and it's going to activate the brakes on that trailer and bring it to a safe stop. This is only going to work if we have a good 12-volt system on our fifth wheel. If we have bad batteries, that safety system is not going to work. All right, so under our kingpin, we have that storage in the front. To the left of it, we have that toggle switch that operates our cap lights on the front. And if we open up our door, we have access to our battery storage down here. And if we notice, we'll have some resettable breakers. These resettable breakers reset on their own. They're heat operated. So if they get too hot from an over amperage, they'll trip out. So if you notice something not working in your unit, give it a few seconds and see if this kicks back on. These can go out over time. So you can test it with a 12-volt light tester or your meter and see if they are working. You just pull that red cap off and you'll see those prongs. Here we have our battery disconnects. These battery disconnects are for when you are storing your unit unplugged. So you have no power to your unit, you're not using it. Turn these off. That way you're conserving the amount of power in your battery. That way whenever you go back to run your jacks and stuff, when you're picking up your unit, you'll have some battery left in there. So one is going to operate that, which is the cable coming from there, and then the other one is actually going to operate your inverter system. Your inverter changes battery power, your 12-volt battery, it converts it into 110 power. So if you were somewhere and you were not plugged in, you're using your solar power or just your battery power, that solar power is going to charge your battery, and then the inverter is going to change that battery power into 110 power to be able to run small appliances like your TV and anything that you plug into those inverted outlets. Now obviously you can't run everything off of it. It's going to depend on the voltage on the wattage on your inverter, and of course how many batteries you have in here as far as how long it is going to last. Now this right here is a module for that inverter system. That's where your output comes through into 110 in order to go out to your control panel, your breaker panel, and run the appliances inside your unit. Now to the left here we have our hydraulic reservoir for our hydraulic slide outs, our jacks, any hydraulic components in here. Now this reservoir is going to have hydraulic fluid in it. You will need to check it, maintain, make sure you have a proper amount in there. But in order to do that, you want to make sure everything is retracted. So slide outs need to be retracted, all of your jacks need to be retracted, everything. That way all the fluid is in this tank, and then you're checking your level. You refill right here. We don't want to add fluid to it if we have something extended, because what's going to happen is, put that fluid in there and you retract everything, that fluid's going to build up and it's going to make a big mess in this compartment. So you don't want to do that. You do have two 250 amp fuses right here. One is for that battery disconnect, one's for your inverter system. And then the other one is a resettable 12-volt breaker right back here. That one is going to be for your jack system. So that one you can actually reset. If you ever see it tripped, you'll see that leg pushed out. So you can come here for your hydraulics and check that in the event that it's not working. In your storage compartments to the right, of course, you are prepped for a generator. of that size that you can fit in there. And then you're also going to have your power reel right here. It is powered 12 volt, so you can roll your power cord up in there and store it. You will see a lipper control panel up here. That lipper control panel is for your leveling system. Just know that's where it is. If you ever call LCI or talk to our technician line, that's where that component is at. They may have you check power there. All right, moving down on our driver's side, we have our first slide out. It's our bedroom slide. That is going to be a cable-driven slide. If you want more information on how to override and all that is on this slide system, we have that in the helpful hacks section. The rest of our slide outs are all going to be hydraulically controlled. So in combination with your leveling system, your slide outs are also hydraulic. In this first compartment, we do have our storage for our LP tank. Of course, there's not one in there right now, but there'll be that on the first compartment over here and on the other side. Your LP tanks will go into the same system and have a dual propane regulator. That dual propane regulator has a selector switch on it, and you choose which tank you want to operate off of. Once that tank runs dry, you'll notice that indicator turns to red on that regulator, letting you know that tank is empty. Now, it will start to pull from that secondary tank, of course, as long as you have your valve open, and it will not interrupt your LP service. You can take that selector switch, swap it to that secondary tank, and have your first one refilled and reinsert it. In the second compartment, we have our pass-through storage right here. We have our hydraulic leveling control system right here for our auto level. We'll go over that in just a second. We do have our lippered tire link system that is pre-wired. You have the bracket to be able to put that device in there, and then the sensors for your tires. This is sold separately if you wanted to upgrade that item so you can monitor your tires. We also have our control center for our water system. This is where we'll hook our water up for all our city water connections, our black tank flush and whatnot. We'll touch on that as well as our hydraulic leveling system right now. Here we have our LCI electronic leveling system. This is for our leveling jacks on our unit. Kick it on, and right there on the screen we have our voltage. Voltage is very important on this system. If we don't have a good 12 volts, good battery, this system may not operate correctly. So keep that in mind if you have any faults or issues with the system or errors. Right off the back, when you enter this screen, you can manually go in and start operating your jacks. So when you kick it up and you want to operate just those front leveling jacks, you can just hold that button down. Orange indicator will indicate those are the jacks that are operating. You can also operate them left and right, and same thing if you retract, hold down that retract button and you can hold down the front button and it will drop down. That's only jacks that mode will operate. Right here we'll go into our arrows. This will be what gets you a little bit further. So auto hitch height is after you have auto leveled your unit. So let's say you disconnected from your truck, you went into auto level and you were done camping. You're going to hit that arrow, go into auto hitch height, press enter, and your unit is going to return to the same position you were in whenever you disconnected your truck or pretty close to it. So you can back right up to it and your hitch should line right up. Our next mode is our auto retract all. After we have hooked that hitch up, we're locked in and we're sure that that hitch has the kingpin and we're not going to cause that thing to come off or anything like that. We've checked everything. We can go ahead and hit enter, and this will retract all of our jacks on our unit to where we are ready to head to our next destination. Next mode is auto retract rear. This is only going to bring up the rear jacks and leave your front landing gears down. Our next mode is our manual level mode. So if we want to manually level our unit ourselves, we can hit enter, go into this manual mode, and it's going to tell us where our degree marks are as far as how off level we are. So this will change as you level your unit. Now you have control of all of your jacks, your front and your rear, and then you can adjust it left and right. And like I said, you can see those degree marks kind of change as you level out the unit. Once again, if we have gone too far, we need to retract a little bit. We hold down that retract button until it lights up, and then we can operate whatever ones we wish. Now, one thing that you'll notice is if we kick this unit off level, we can notice we now have a flashing light right here. This indicates that the front is low. So if we're doing that in manual mode, it just makes it a little bit easier. We go ahead, and hold that button down. We can also notice our degree mark is climbing right there, and obviously we've hit 0 here. Now we have an indicator that is green. That's letting us know that the unit is level. Same thing on the outsides here. We have more red lights that will indicate if those angles are unlevel. If we hit it one more time after that manual mode, that brings us to our regular ready screen. The other option is we disconnect from our truck and we go straight into auto level. We just hold that button down and then it's going to go through auto leveling your unit. It's important we don't walk around in our unit during that period. We let it go ahead and level out until it says complete, or you may see this screen right here should have a green light in the middle. If you have any errors, then you'll have to assess that through the troubleshooting. LCI has great literature on what to do. We also have some other videos that go through some steps on that as well. All right, so here we are in our control center. We have our spray port. We hook that coil quick connect in there. We'll have hot and cold water spray port accessible outside. We have our 3 ports right here. One is going to be for satellite. One is going to be for cable. Our cable would come from our park cable, obviously, and all these ports run to the inside of our unit everywhere we have a TV, including our exterior. Now here we have all of our connections for our city water, the different options for our knobs here. The white one right here, that is our city water connection. That's where we'll run the hose from the campsite, hook it up to provide water to the interior of our tank or fill our tanks. So we'll move to that. First off, we'll touch on city water. City water is just if you have that connection at the campground, we'll go ahead and turn our valves to that sequence right there, and that water will go straight to our faucets. If we are wanting to dry camp, the first thing we'll need to do is fill our tanks. So we'll go to power fill tank. Once again, we'll have a hose hooked up to a water bib to fill that, and we're changing our sequence to that, and this will begin to fill the tank on our units. We have that onboard storage for our fresh water. This is for if we are going to a campground or stopping anywhere on the road and we want water and we don't have a water source, we'll come and fill that tank, and then in order to use it, we'll turn to that dry camping sequence, turn those valves to that, and then we'll turn our water pump on, and it will pull from that tank and provide water to our system. Our next one is winterization. All right, so we'll turn those valves this way for winterization, and this is for when we want to winterize our unit for the winter time and protect our pipes. So we would first go to our low point drains, which we'll talk about the location of that a little bit later. We'll open up those low point drains, blow the water out of our system, turn our knobs to this, and we'll hook a hose from here and put it into a gallon of RV antifreeze. Now, it will take several gallons to fill this unit, so you do it one at a time. You turn that water pump on, and you open up all your fixtures in your unit until antifreeze comes out. You swap that jug out as needed. This changes that system up to pull from that antifreeze jug and fill that system. The last one is siphon sanitize via tank pump. Now that system is if you want to sanitize your tank system, basically same concept. You're pulling from here with a mixture of water and bleach into your system if you want to sanitize it, but it goes into your fresh tank. So as we were saying, this is our city water connection. That's where you'll hook that hose up. This one is our black tank flush. This is for when we are flushing out that sewage tank. That's where you'll hook your hose up here and kick that water on to flush that tank out. We'll go over a little bit more information on that when we get to our actual black tank dump valve. So behind our pass-through bay right there, we have our Suburban tanked water heater that's going to work off of electric and propane. We'll go over the controls for that on the inside, as well as our controls for our furnace. Both of these, our furnace works off of LP. Of course, we said our water heater works off of LP and electric. These exhausts will get a little warm whenever working off of propane, so keep that in mind when in that area. Let's take a closer look at our dump station down here under the J-Wrap. So below our water heater, we can see our labeled gray tank. We have that valve right there that is going to drain our gray tank there, and behind our 4-inch port over there near our red and blue lines, that is our second gray tank. So unit has 2 gray tanks. Our gray tanks hold our sink water and our shower water, and then we have our wastewater holding tank labeled right here. Coming out of our frame, we have another valve handle right there. So that is for our black tank, which is everything from our toilet. Now, when we have a port at our campground and we have that hose hooked up where we can dump, we can leave those gray tanks open all the time. That water can drain out. You don't have to worry about waiting to dump them when they're full. If you don't have that dump station at the campsite, of course, you're going to have to leave them closed and wait till you get to that port exiting the campground. Our black tank, however, needs to stay closed all the time. If we don't, we'll cause those solids in there to dry up, and it'll be very hard, if not impossible, to clean. So leave that black tank closed all the time, and you want several gallons of water in there. Now, to dump our black tank, of course, we have to have that hose hooked up. We pull that valve and we dump the debris that's in there. Once we are done and it has emptied out, we hook our water hose up to our black tank flush, and that is a spray port on the other side of that tank. The tank is slanted. That spray port is going to blow any debris and everything down to the exit valve of that tank and have it flush out that system. Now, it does a pretty good job, but if you want to go a step further, you can go with the pro tip. Now, this pro tip comes with a warning, because manufacturer is going to tell you you can't do that black tank flush without the black tank valve open. Now, if you want to, you can, but it is at your own risk. Close that black tank valve, let it fill up with a little bit of water, and open it back up. Now, you do need to monitor the amount of water you're putting in there, because if you leave it unattended, it can overfill into your unit and cause a nasty, nasty mess and some damage. So do it with notice that you have to monitor that tank. Maybe 60 seconds or so. Open that valve up, let it flush out of that system. This is going to pick up a little bit more debris and help flush it out. You can do that a couple times till you're satisfied. When you're done, turn off your black tank flush, close that black tank valve, and then go on the inside, hold down your toilet pedal, and fill it up with several gallons of water. After that, add chemicals to it while you're driving down the road. That's going to help clean out that tank a little bit more. Stuff can get stuck to those sensors and give you a false reading. While you're traveling down the road, it'll help knock it down, and you can flush it out again if you want when you get home, or you can just wait till your next trip. We always want to add those chemicals to it. That's going to help decompose anything that's left in that tank. We want to use only RV toilet paper, nothing else, because it won't decompose properly in that tank, and we want to treat it like a septic. You're only putting sewage, toilet paper, and chemicals in there, nothing else. If you do put anything else in there, it can get caught in those pipes and cause some drainage issues for you, so beware of that as well. You also notice behind that last gray tank valve, you're going to see that red and blue line we talked about on there with two valves on it. Those are your low point drains. You are going to use those whenever you winterize your unit. You want to get all the water out of your system. Those are the two lowest points. We open them up and the water will drain out, blow that water out, we can close them off and prep our unit with antifreeze from there. And that will protect our unit from the cold, cold winters. On our second slide right here, we'll notice that we do have a vent up there. That vent has two tabs on it, and it can be closed during storage to help any rodents or insects from building a nest in there. That vent is for our hood vent in our stove, over our stove. If we want that air to actually ventilate out, we have to open those two tabs and open that vent so it'll actually exhaust out. Otherwise, that air is not going to go anywhere. Under this slide out too, you'll see another blue line sticking out with a valve on it. That is to empty out our fresh tank. So the fresh tank that we had talked about earlier, filling in our convenience center, that onboard water storage, we can drain it out right here. We don't want to have any extra weight if we don't need it. So if we know we're not going to need that fresh tank storage, just drain the water out of that system. If you're done using it, drain that water out of that system. That way we don't have to worry about that water becoming stagnant inside that tank as well. Well, on the back corner of our unit, we have our 50 amp twist lock plug right here. That's going to provide us with shore power. And we want to insert that, turn it to the right, click it in, and put that little retainer ring on there. That helps to make sure that cord isn't going to be pulled out, and make sure that we don't have a gap in that the power cord to the plug, and we don't cause any electrical arcing on there. On the rear of our unit, we can see that we do have a receiver hitch on there. That receiver hitch is not rated to tow a trailer or anything behind us. Otherwise, we'd have hooks and lights and stuff back there. It's just for like a carriage or anything that we want to carry behind us. Up top, we are pre-wired for that Furrion backup camera system. If we want to add that on there, the wiring is already there for the power. And we'll also see our bracket up in the top right. That is for our Lippard ladder on the go system. If we want to gain access to our roof, then we can buy that telescopic ladder that will extend out and attach to that bracket and gain access to the roof. We do need to do that because after trips we need to check our roof, make sure we didn't hit any low-lying limbs or anything and cause any damage to the rubber on our roof. We also need to clean and maintain it, and we need to check our sealants on the roof as well as our sealants on the sides, around our trims, windows, lights, anything like that. We need to check all these sealants every 60 to 90 days. This is maintaining our unit and is considered customer responsibility. We need to check for any peeling, cracking, anything of that nature, deterioration of that sealant. If there is any deterioration, cracking, or peeling, we need to clean that off and reseal it. If we don't do that, we can open the door to leaks and decomposure of our unit, and manufacturers aren't going to participate in any repairs if we're not keeping up with the maintenance. So just like changing oil in your car, you need to maintain your unit so it'll last for years to come. On the back corner of our unit, right on our frame, we'll see that quick connect for the LP system. If we want to put an outdoor grill out here, we can connect to that and pull from the tanks on our unit. On the passenger side of our unit, that first compartment, we have our storage for our LP tank system. And just like the one on the other side, that is where our tank goes. Now in our pass-through compartment right here, we'll notice our solar charge controller. What that does is that transfers that solar power that we're getting from our solar panels on our unit into charging power for our battery system. So that's going to basically tell us that our unit is being charged, of course, when it's solar, and we can monitor it from there. We'll also notice a cable outlet right here that is for our outdoor TV, as well as a 110 outlet. We have another 110 outlet right here, and both of them are GFCI protected. Any outlet in a wet location like your kitchens, bathrooms, and outside are going to be GFCI protected. You're generally going to see a label on them that says so. Now anytime those outlets don't work, it could be either because they got wet or because we have too many griddles or hot plates, anything like that plugged in, and it can overamp that system. So where we go to reset that system isn't going to be our breaker panel, it's going to be that GFCI resettable outlet inside our unit, and we'll show you where that is once we get to the interior. Just know that that's where we're going to have to go to reset those outlets. We're also going to have our inverter system right here. That inverter is what we have inside that front compartment. We talked about that. That is what changes the 12-volt power to 110 power if we don't have a shore power connection somewhere. We're camping in a parking lot or whatever, dry camping, we're using that battery power to run some of those 110 components in our unit, like the outlets or our refrigerator. So in order to turn that off and on, we're going to come to this button right here. That is just a power button for that. On our entry door, we will find some resistance when we open and close that door. That is because we do have friction controlled hinges. That's to help to keep the wind from slamming that door open or shut and banging against your unit. You do have the solid steps right here. These solid steps can be stored pretty easily by lifting them up. We'll put them into the frame of our door. We need to pull that little blue latch right there to make sure we are allowing that latch to go around our frame. Give them a little tug and make sure that that is set in place properly and our door closes properly, ready for transport. We're ready to set them out. We want to auto level our unit first and then come over here and do our steps. We pull that blue latch, we can go ahead and drop it down. And the reason I say auto level is because we also have to level out our steps. In order to do that, we can push this little silver latch right here and we can shift those legs in and out so we can level our steps. This is important not only for safety, for getting in and out of that unit, but we also want to make sure that our threshold is down enough to where this door is going to close properly, and we also want to make sure that our frame of the door isn't hitting the frame of the steps and causing any damage. So make sure we auto level our unit first, and then we go ahead and level out our steps. Of course, you have your little grab handle right here. This is extended out. If it was extended in, it'd be in, and you'd have this pin down at the bottom. You pull that pin out, pull at the bottom, grab this, and you slide that back out. You can stick your pin in right there to put it back, push right there, and reinsert your pin. So it's a nice safety rail added feature on there to help you get in and out of your unit. On our unit, we have our 12-volt powered awning as well as our 12-volt awning lights. Both of these components controlled by our battery power. We can, if we have any issues with it, we can go over to that 12-volt fuse panel. We'll show you on the inside, check the fuses, and make sure that nothing is blown. Now, the important thing about our awning is we need to pitch it. We need to make sure that any water that gets on our awning is able to run off. We can either pitch it to the back or the front. We're over here at the back because these steps are here and it's a lot easier to reach. Easy to do. We go grab it right at this pivot point right here and we just pull down. That gives us a little pitch on our awning for that water to be able to drain off. Now we're talking about AC runoff from the condensation on that AC, light dew or light rain. If there's a rainstorm, you need to roll that awning in. If there's a wind, high winds, you need to roll that awning in. This is to keep you from having an insurance claim. If there's any damage due to the awning collapsing because of too much water on it, or if there is a wind that rips it off, anything like that, number one, it's very difficult to take all this stuff down after that happens. Number two, it's an expensive insurance claim. Manufacturers are not going to participate in that kind of damage. So make sure we're rolling our awning in. If we leave our unit for an extended period of time, another great time to roll it in just to make sure nothing happens. When we're ready to store our unit, we go ahead and pitch it back up and then we can roll our awning back in. As we walk into our unit, we'll run right into that cabinet. We open it up and we have our control center for our unit. Up here we'll have our battery meter as well as our fresh black and our two gray tanks right here. We push them and it's going to light up and let us know what the levels of that system are. Here we have our tank heaters. This is for our black gray tanks. Anything that is down in that underbelly, we can kick those on. That's going to be a heating pad on those tanks that is going to keep them from freezing up during the winter time and help protect it. Our water pump here is going to be used from that onboard water storage that we filled up, that fresh tank system. If we don't have that water bib at a campground, wherever we're at, we can kick that on and that will pull the water from that tank. If we don't have water in that tank, or you hear it running all the time, or you're hooked up to city water, turn that system off. This is an on-demand pump. It's only going to operate when water is turned on. So if you hear it running, nothing is on, that means either you're out of water or you have a leak in your system. You don't want to burn that pump up. So just go ahead and get it off, turn it off until you figure out what's wrong. Now our water heater, once again, controlled by a 110 electric heating element, or our 12 volts is going to signify our LP. So if we want to run off of electric, we're plugged in, we can kick that system on, that heating element will turn on, and that system will begin to heat up the water. We want to make sure that our tank is full of water before we use that heating element, otherwise it will burn up. Our 12 volt, we kick that on. We'll notice a DSI fault light right here. That is indicating whether or not there is a fault in the system. You'll initially notice that that kicks on whenever you turn on your LP system, that 12 volt switch, because it hasn't lit yet. It'll go through a sequence, it'll light. If there's any faults, then that light will either stay on or come back on, one of the two. We need to make sure our propane's on before we initiate that system. Down here we have our lights, kitchen, main area right here, and then we have our entry light right here at the entry door. Our hydraulic slides in and out. This is going to control our two living room slides. Our in and out for our awning, obviously our awning, and then our awning light right here. This slide room right here is going to initiate our slide out in our bedroom. And our tank heater right here, that's just another set of tank heaters for the other heaters in our underbelly. All of this stuff is 12 volt controlled, so if we have any issues, we can check those automatic reset breakers in that front compartment or check our 12 volt fuse panel that we'll touch on near the 110 breaker. Here we are in our mid bunk area right here. We have that slide out right there, and once again, that is a hydraulic slide controlled by that hydraulic slide button in there. I don't think I mentioned that earlier when we were on the control center, but your three slide outs, living room slides, and this one are all controlled by those hydraulics. You'll notice you do have a GFCI outlet in here. This is one of those main resettable outlets. If any of those outdoor outlets or kitchen outlets, anything like that, are not working, we want to come here. We're going to notice two buttons on it, a test button and a reset button. If we hit that test button, we're going to notice an orange light pops up. That's indicating that system is faulted, and we can go ahead and reset it by hitting that other button, and that light will clear out. Now normally if it's tripped, you're going to come over here, you're going to see that orange light on. All we need to do is go reset that system. Now if it's tripped because we have too much stuff plugged in. It may trip again right away. We need to go unplug some of those items and then try to reset it or check to make sure that our system isn't wet at any of those outlets. You have a coax connection right here. That is for your antenna cable that we can put another TV in here and scan for those channels. Down here at the bottom, we're going to have our 110 and 12 volt convenience center that I keep talking about, right? That's where all our 110 breakers are, and we need to check if any of our 110 systems aren't working. We come here to check those breakers and make sure nothing is tripped. We're also going to have our 12 volt fuses in there. If any of our 12 volt components aren't working, we're going to check those fuses and make sure none are blown. Now we're also going to, either on the back side of it or somewhere in that front storage behind a panel, we're going to have our converter system. Our converter system is basically a battery charger. It's changing 110 voltage to 12 volt charging voltage. That 110 voltage, of course, is only going to work if we are plugged into shore power. So you may hear a little fan or something running behind there. That is just our converter charging our battery. Down at the bottom of our island, we have that COLP detector right down here. We'll notice a little green light indicating that it is on, powered up. That is a hardwired device into our 12 volt system. So anytime we have battery power, of course, that system should be on and operating. It's going to make you aware of any cautious gases by alarming you, kind of like a smoke detector. You'll have that chirp. You do need to test that every now and again, pushing that test button. It's going to go through a series of chirps, and it'll let you know that that system is operating. Now, these do have an expiration date on them, either on the front or if you undo the two screws, it may be stamped on the back. They're good for about 5 years. We do need to change those out when that time comes. Our kitchen table is extendable. We flip that up right there. We make sure that these latches are locked in. To pull them down, we pull those down at the bottom, and we can just drop it back down. We need to make sure that we put that down before we roll the slide out in so we're not causing any damage. Now, we do have a residential refrigerator in this unit. They are going to be 110 power. That's why we call them residential. You're going to have a different series depending on the type of unit, different series of operations on these. Most all of them are going to have with that quick cool mode or quick freeze mode, where it's going to quickly cool down the refrigerator or quickly cool down your freezer, and you can change your zone temperatures on that screen as well. Most of them are also going to have a lock screen. You hold down that lock on there, and then you can go and make those adjustments. They do that way the kids can't mess everything up, right? So you're going to have mid drawers. It varies on what model and series you have on here. You'll definitely have that freezer. One thing to keep in mind, when you go to store your unit, you're not plugged in, that system is going to defrost. So we need to make sure we get all our ice out of there, get any water that's in that system out, because if that water drains out and damages those wood components, manufacturers are not going to cover that. So make sure that we are defrosting and cleaning out our unit. This is also going to lessen the chance that you get any mold or mildew in your fridge. You're always going to have travel latches on your refrigerator. You want to make sure that you use those so that way your stuff doesn't come flying out and cause any damage, and you don't have a mess all over your unit. 110 powered, once again, if that inverter system is kicked on, you don't have shore power, it is going to pull off your batteries and operate that refrigerator. All right, we have our 110 operated microwave, obviously, and we have a 3-burner stove right here with a glass top. We leave that glass top down for more counter space. When we are traveling, it always needs to be down, otherwise this glass is going to fall and break. Under all that, when we flip it up, we have our 3-burner stove right here, gas operated. Make sure your propane is on, and you can turn the knob to that light option, hit your igniter, and then we can go ahead and light that stovetop. Now, we always want to bleed the air out of our propane system before we go operate things like our furnace or our LP water heater. This is to help reduce the opportunity for any faults in that system. And we do that by coming to our stove first. So why do we need to bleed air out of our system? Well, anytime we pull our unit out of storage and we have the valves off on that propane, you're generally going to end up with air in the system, or if you change the tanks out, once again, air in your system. Easiest place to do that is come to your stove and light it. Turn your propane tanks on, come to 1 or 2 of the burners, turn it to light, and just hold that igniter button down until it lights. It may take a little bit of time because, once again, that air is coming out. Once it lights, let it run for about 30 to 60 seconds, and you have a nice blue flame all the way around, and then you can go operate those other items. It's going to make them operate a lot quicker and make sure you don't have any faults. Now this one is a Suburban stovetop. Pretty much all of them are going to run the same. You're also going to have your oven down here at the bottom. Now your oven pilot, the only difference is you're going to have to turn and hold this button down on the pilot on option, and that is going to allow, once again, we're purging that air out of the system, and we're allowing gas to get into that burner tube. While we're doing that, we need to hold down that ignite button so that igniter will begin to try to light that pilot. We look down there, we see that pilot is lit. And once it's lit, we can stop igniting. Just hold that pilot down for about 30 seconds or so, and then we can turn to our temperature. We're heating up that thermocouple in that system to make sure that it knows, hey, we're lit. Otherwise, it will automatically shut off that gas valve and it will not try to operate. If it goes out, we just want to go back to that pilot on option, push it down, and we want to relight that system. I always tell customers, first time you light it, once again, if the air is still in that system, first time you light it, it is going to take a little bit of time, even still, for that oven pilot to light. So just be patient whenever you're operating it. All right, our entertainment for our living room. Of course, we have a TV. There is a port back here with two coax connections. One is going to be for your satellite, and we can hook a receiver there and then go to our TV. The other one is going to be cable and air antenna. Down here we have our JBL radio with zones A and B to control your interior and exterior speakers, these being our interiors. And then below that we have our 110 operated fireplace. That is going to be an electric fireplace. We'll go over the operation of that now. Here we have our fireplace. We have a sensor right up here in the top right. We have to aim that remote at to turn it on. We have our Celsius and Fahrenheit temperature we can change to. And right here, this little flame icon is going to change the dimness of our flame. If we want to change the lighting of our flame, we hit the light bulb on the screen down here at the bottom, and it'll give you some different options right there. If we want to operate our heater on a timer, once again, electric heater, it is going to be this button right here. It looks like a clock, and when we push it, we can see some times pop up: 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, all the way up to 8, and then it will go to 0 hours, letting you know that that timer is off. If we want to change our temperature, we'll use one of these two buttons at the bottom, and we can see once again we have a temperature down there, and we will go ahead and raise it until it kicks on, or lower it, we want it to kick off, or we can keep going until it says on, and that heater will stay running all the time. We kick it up one more time, and it's going to say OF, meaning that that system is off. You're also going to have smoke detectors in your unit that are powered by those 9-volt batteries. You need to check and make sure that those batteries are in good condition and that system is working as well. We do have our loft up here. Loft has a little 12-volt light switch to add lighting up in that area, and of course our ladder to be able to access it, easily stored and taken out by lifting it up and storing it in that little cubby. Now, our hallway has our thermostat for our main living room area. We'll go over the operation of that GE thermostat now. This is our GE thermostat. We have several buttons right here. Our mode button, when you push it once, it's going to bring us to the fan mode. Now this will turn the fan on and let it run all the time. It will not cool your unit. It just circulates the air throughout it. If we hit our fan button down at the bottom, we can see it goes from a higher speed to a lower speed. Hit it one more time with those two dashes. That will bring that fan to the high speed. If we hit mode again, we will see our cool snowflake pop up there at the top. That lets us know that we are now in cool mode. On the right hand side, we can adjust our temperature to whatever we want. Now, if we are in the cool mode, we see auto right here. This will mean that the fan will turn off whenever the compressor turns off and turn on whenever the compressor turns on, much like your AC at home. Now, during the hot summer months, you're going to want to take it from auto and go regular into a fan mode on, generally in high. This will help keep the fins on that air conditioner dry in between cycles of the compressor, and this helps reduce the opportunity for that air conditioner to freeze up. So on any temperature over 90 degrees or so, I suggest leaving that fan in the on mode where it is running all the time. If we hit mode one more time, if we have a furnace hooked up to it, which is generally a gas appliance, it will go ahead and kick on, and once again we operate that temperature right here on the right. Here we are in our bathroom area. Pretty common. We have our shower, hot and cold faucets. We have our shower head. Only thing different in an RV is you'll see these buttons on here. That is to turn the shower head off and on. And we use this whenever we are dry camping maybe. If we are trying to conserve the amount of water we're putting into our gray tank as well as the water that we're using from our fresh tank, it's just an easier way to stop that shower when we want to, in between rinsing and lathering up, and we won't have to try to find that sweet spot on our faucet for the hot water again. So just keep that in mind. If you want to use it, you can. If you hook city water, don't worry about it. Just use it like normal. All of our showers do have travel latches on there with those glass doors. We want to make sure that they are not swaying around while we're driving down the road, keep them from breaking. And then we're also going to have an exhaust vent in this bathroom. It's suggested that we go ahead and open that up, turn that fan on. That way we can get any heat and humidity out of here and reduce the opportunity for mold and mildew. You are going to find another GFCI protected outlet in this bathroom. It's going to work just like the one in the bunkhouse area that we talked about. If we have some outlets that aren't working, we want to go there and make sure that system isn't tripped out. We have our toilet right here. We talked about that. That goes to our black tank, right? RV toilet paper only, sewage, and our chemicals. In order to operate this toilet, we have our little foot pedal right here. That's how we flush our system. If we're doing number one, that's our liquids only, right? We're just hitting that pedal and we're flushing it down. Number two, solids. Then we want to make sure that we fill that bowl up about halfway to 3/4 of the way. And we can do that by barely pushing that pedal down, and that will begin to fill that tank up with water. And then we can flush down those solids. We want to do that because we want to make sure we have enough water to actually flush toilet paper and those solids down that tank. If not, we can cause some clogging issues in the pipe. In our bedroom, we do have a second AC thermostat in here that's going to operate this AC right here. Both of your ceiling assemblies are going to look like this. You're going to have your filter right here. We squeeze those two tabs down and we can drop that down and clean our filter for our AC system. We need to do that fairly regularly so we're not restricting the flow into our AC and that it is working properly. Here we do have another vent with a little latch. We can open that up. That is a quick dump valve. Once again, you have another one in your living room area. Now your unit is ducted, so you have these AC vents running all through it. When this quick dump valve is closed, meaning you can't see through it, then that means that air is going to transfer through those ceiling ducts and ventilate throughout the unit just like it would at your house. Now if you want to cool this area off quickly, say we just got to the campground or whatever and wanted to cool it off quickly in just this room, we open that vent up and that air will just push out of this. But if we want to circulate it, we need to close that off so it'll go through our ducts. Over to the left, we have another location for our TV, and we're going to notice two ports right here. One is going to say auxiliary satellite. That is going to be from those satellite ports outside. And then the other one is going to be TV. That is going to be antenna and cable. So when we're scanning for air channels, there's a little button next to that TV coax. When we push that button off and on, we'll see a little green light turn off and on. That light indicates our antenna booster. Anytime we're scanning for those air channels, we want that antenna booster on. So we want that light on. If we want to scan for cable channels, we need to turn it off so it doesn't scramble the channels from the campground. The antenna boost helps us pick up more channels, more air channels in that area. We also have right here, if your unit came equipped with it, is that WineGuard gateway system. That WineGuard gateway system is basically a router. And if we are at a campground, we purchase Wi-Fi through them, we can help boost and pick up that signal, amplify it through our unit, or we can get with a cellular provided at wineguard.com, get a SIM card for that system, and we can have Wi-Fi with us wherever we go. And behind me here, we do have our closet with the upgrade for a washer-dryer system. We have our plumbing right there for that washer-dryer. And then you'll also see wireless charging outlets in here as well as our USB ports to be able to plug in our phones.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us. And keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.